Hi guys, it's Kelly from Body Fit Solutions. This is part of the fitness challenge we're offering, and this is a rest day or a variation from your 4 fitness sessions. So you can do this as an extra session. This is a Pilates inspired session and a way to recover from some of your fitness sessions that you're doing through the week. So this will be about a 20-minute, hopefully, workout that just gets the body moving in all its different positions, maybe stretch out some of the parts of the body that you've been working the other days of the week, and just to have a bit of chill time. This can be used anytime, not just in the challenge, as a way to refresh and recoup from anything that you're doing. So I've got my mat, and I've got a little head block if you normally use it, a big head block for some sideline stuff that we're going to be doing. You can use a pillow or a cushion at home. I do have a Pilates ball. It's quite handy if you have one. If you don't, then we can again use a cushion between the knees, or they're about £6 to invest in. So what we're going to do is start in kneeling, and you may want to have a cushion underneath your supporting knee, and we're going to take the other leg out in front. So we're just going to do a little stretch for the front of the hip as a way to warm up before we lie down. So I want you to just focus a moment on your breathing. Taking a breath in through the nose and out through your mouth. I want you to focus on breathing into the side of your ribs. Laterally moving the ribs out and in, expanding them and contracting them. And you can do this in a double kneeling just to start with. Feeling the breath go down, to fill your hands gently. And then as you breathe out, you should feel a deflation. So we're breathing into the side and the back of the ribs and letting the diaphragm move down. As we take that breath in, breathe out. The diaphragm should move back up and the ribs should soften in. So take some time to go through that if that's not quite working well for you. And once you get that pattern, try and bring that into everything that we do in this workout. So we're going to take that breath in, and then lightly sweeping the arms up and coming into a nice little soft stretch for that hip. And come back. Breathing in and out. Try and watch you don't go into your lower back, so I'm keeping a stretch here and support through the front. Just 4 of those. And then we're going to come back to that start position where your hips are right over top of your knee. Take the arms overhead, and you can either have them straight or hands on the head, and take it into a little side stretch. So we're stretching away from the back leg. So the opposite way. And I want you to think about going up before you go over. So we're actually stretching this right side of the body. So I've got my right leg on the mat and stretching the right side. So 4 of those. And then come back to center, and we're going to do a little rotation. So this is just to stretch your hips and the torso out a little bit before we start moving. It's a nice exercise before you do a fitness activity, before or after your foam rolling. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So inhale up, exhale down, stretching along. Feeling an elasticity in the movement. So there's a soft quality as you're going up. And then into that side bend. Arms overhead or on your head, whatever feels comfortable for your shoulders. Stretching the rib cage away from the hip. So we're feeling that side, IT band, side of the hip stretching. You'll notice I'm very bad with counting. So 4 of those if you've done an extra one. Sorry about that. Extra is okay if we can manage it. Into that rotation. Not going too far, but feeling this wrapping feeling around of your torso across this front leg. Once you've done that on each side, you're going to lie down on your back. If you lie down and your head sits slightly backwards, this is why we use the little head block. If your head is sitting quite level with your spine, then you don't need it. And we're going to come into breathing for a moment here, letting the chest and the belly rise on the inhale, letting them fall on the exhale. Letting them both rise together and both fall together. If they aren't doing that, pay attention to one that maybe isn't doing that breath as efficiently. Letting them both inflate and deflate. And bring your attention down to your pelvic bowl, your hip bones, the front of your pelvis, your pubic bone, your navel. And I want you to start to rock your pelvic clock. So imagine I've taken the clock off the wall and rested it on your abdomen. 12 is your navel and 6 is your pubic bone. And I want you to rock the pelvis very gently between those 2 points. Rolling along the bottom part of your spine, the sacral bone, from your tail up to where your low back starts. I don't want you to press down into your low back, but just feel the bones of the pelvis rocking on the mat. Nice and quietly, nice and gentle. You can start to push a little bit on your feet, so the feet press forward a little bit and pull, and that should start to create that rocking effect. So pulling the feet to you and gently pushing away. I'm trying to keep the back of the legs fairly relaxed, so I'm not over tensing. And rest in the middle where it feels comfortable between that 6 and 12. So the back of the pelvis, the bottom of the spine should feel heavier on the mat. Let your clock feel the 3 and the 9, the sides of the pelvis. So I want you to feel the 3 becoming heavier on the mat. And then the 9. So one side of your pelvis becoming heavy, one side light, like a seesaw. Like a scale, you've dropped a little bit more weight on one side and released on the other side. And you can use your legs to help this. So the side that's rising, if I'm rising that right side up, this right leg is going to lift and turn in slightly. I'm not doing it too much, just enough to feel that that helps to make the pelvis rotate. When I watch that I'm not hitching the sides of the torso shorter to do this, okay, that is really, really soft. And then try and go around your clock, hitting all the numbers, 12, all the way around, 3, 6, and 9. And you can pause this as long as you want to do this, and then go the other way, so that you can detect any imbalances, any stickiness in the clock. You want it to be really smooth and liquidy. As we rest in the middle, I want you to start to feel your right leg starting to unwind out to the side in a little leg fallout. And I say unwind because I want the leg to feel like it's turning outwards in your hip, only as far as your pelvis can stay level. And then think of the middle of the pelvis joining the leg back to where it started. And then turning out the other way. So the other leg falls out and it's a rotation of the leg in the socket, kind of like this in my arm. And each side again. Just feeling the heaviness of the opposite side of the hip. I want to go as far as you feel you can with that leg fall out without disrupting the clock. Taking your time to bring it back so that you feel that your deeper support muscles are guiding the leg back. So thinking about the pubic bone joining together to bring the leg back up. I have a feeling this workout is going to be a little bit longer than 20 minutes. So bear with me. You can always stop and do parts of the video. So if you want to do 20 minutes of a bit of it and then pause and do the other half another time. Let's do one more. So I'm just breathing alongside it, just exploring how much range I've got before the pelvis moves. You can have your hands here or maybe at the back of your pelvis to feel where you are in space. From here, I want you to start feeling 1 foot heavier into the mat. We're back into the center of the bowl. 1 foot heavy, and just let that mental imagery of the one side being heavier into the floor like a lead boot, standing into the mat. Just let the other foot start to respond. So it feels lighter in my mind. And now this right leg is going to feel heavy, and so the left foot is just going to softly come up. And just changing your weight and feeling that the pelvis stays really level side to side as you're doing this, so you're not tipping. And if you are, focus your breath here. Exhaling to deflate the abdominal wall, to give the ribs to the mat, to relax your shoulders and your head. Feel the things that are touching the floor are heavy, and the leg becomes lighter as it lifts. And begin to march a little bit more, so we go into a tabletop position, or a femur arc. So I'm letting the one leg feel heavy, and the other leg to feel light. Marching from one to the other, feeling the leg that's rising, dropping into your hip. It's very free. I'm not really pulling with muscles. I'm trying to just imagine what the bones are doing and turning them like little wheels on the side of you, your legs. And as you come to here, you can keep going with that march if you feel strong enough. See if you can breathe out and send the second leg up without changing your clock, and just check in that the abdominal wall has sunk in and that it's now not pushing out to the air. And that might take a little bit of practice. And as you lower back down, keeping support through the center of your pelvis. So we take one leg up, breathe out. The pelvis becomes heavier so that my leg can become lighter. And then lowering back down. So focus on the masses that are touching the floor. The head, the shoulder blades, the ribs, even my fingertips, as they connect to the mat to lift the second leg up. I want to avoid, when that second leg comes up, arching the back. So I don't want you to do that if that's happening. I want you to stay with your marches and get that strong. Maybe what you need is a little bit more time. Maybe you can breathe a few times. Maybe you can guide your pelvis a little bit to 12. So towards your navel to support that second leg a little bit more. And we're going to come back down. I want you to bring your feet a little bit closer to your bottom. And if you have a Pilates ball, you can pop it between your legs for a little bit of inner thigh work. If you don't worry. I want you to take both feet into the ground and start to slowly roll the sit bones up the back of the legs. So we come into a bridge. And just adjust yourself there so you feel quite comfortable. Wanting to stretch the front of the thighs and the hips, especially here, out, without going too high into the low back. So I want to be quite calm there. So it's the glute muscles, the bottom muscles that are holding me up. And then on the way down, letting the upper back unfold. Breathing in, breathing out to press through the feet, roll the sit bones up, so the sitting bones, and the bottom of your pelvis, your tail reaches out in front of you. So it's like a runway, you're taking off. So imagine your spine is a plane, and instead of just lifting in the air, it goes along the runway and slowly gets higher and higher as it goes. Feel that there's a freedom here to be able to move side to side. So let the pelvis shift right and left. If you notice any tightness, just come down a little bit so that you're not in a overly tense position. You're not too high. Do that about 10 times and come down. We can go again, pressing through, sending that sacrum out and side to side for 10. Try to avoid rotating, okay, so it's really soft. The ribs are movable. And then come down. We're just going to hug the knees into the chest and give a little side to side. Now we are going to go on to our sides now. So we're going to go into the book opening, which is a great rotational exercise. So if you need a head block under your head, because the head doesn't feel comfortable there, that's fine. I'm just going to get my head block a little bit behind so I have somewhere to roll. The knees are bent up. You can have a little cushion or a ball between your knees, or just have them resting on each other. The arms are outstretched. Get your bottom arm very comfortable for you here. And you might have to wiggle around to get that. And what we're going to do is slide the top arm along the mat, and then slide it across your bottom arm, and we're going to be rotating the spine here. I want you to breathe here. And having the hand at the chest, gently guide it around away from this bottom arm. So I'm slowly turning. Exhale again, bringing the rib cage around. Watching the ribs don't lift as you're rotating. I'm moving away from this bottom arm with the collarbone. The spinal column is rotating. And then the arm up here can outstretch, and you can look towards that hand. And then rotate yourself all the way around. Now what I want to avoid is over-rotating down here, but I do want to have a little bit of give. So I want you to think this time of the leg moving a little bit away from your pelvis. So if I slide here and start to slide here, have a little pause. Feel like there's a little bit of space here at the front of the hip to go a little bit further. If I keep gripping on, I'm not going to be able to rotate. So feed that leg out. If you're feeling any discomfort in your back, ease off of it. Maybe try and breathe into your ribs a little bit more. And let it feel like a stretch that's coming right up from your legs, through your torso, and into your head. You can let the arm outstretch. Don't let it hang behind you. Okay, let it be a part of this opening. And then rotate back. You can do that as many times as you like. You can pause the video and have a bit more time doing. I'm just going to do 3 of these, taking my time with it. Nice little crack. Cracks are okay, as long as it's not pain. Really important, the bottom rib stays low to the ground. Okay, so it doesn't pop up. That's excellent. And then you're going to go ahead and turn around to the other side, and you can pause and do a few more. You might find that one side is a little bit tighter than the other, so you might next time want to spend a bit more time there on the tighter side. So again, get yourself comfortable. And let's allow that arm to slide a little bit forward, mobilize along, have a little pause at the chest. Feel that opening at the front of the hip. And rotate all the way around. Inhale. And exhale as you start to move the torso away from your arm. Melting the rib cage around, a rib grab. So I'm guiding the ribs around to turn the upper back. The upper back is where I want more movement. It's usually where we're a bit stiff. So you might find some restrictions here on the side of you. That's fine, as long as it doesn't feel uncomfortable. Okay. knowing the difference between a good stretch and a bad stretch. And we know, we're very in tune. And coming all the way back around. Now what I should have done on the other side is a little leg exercise. So we're going to do it here and then we'll turn back around to the other side. So we're going to do the clam, which is the rotational exercise for the hip. So we're going to spin that leg like we did in the leg fallout in the warm-up, rotating the heels on each other to rotate that leg up. And I don't want to go so far that it moves the pelvis and starts to feel some work happening in the outside of the hip, into the glute med muscle and the glute max that rotate. You might feel like around your sit bone area is starting to get warm. And again, as you know, I'm a bad counter. I'm going to say that's about 7 and 8. Starting to feel that now. 9. Keep support here. And then do little pulses for 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm trying to spiral, not just flat my knee, and press a little bit into this bottom side. 2 and 1 and return. Good. We're going to turn around and do the same thing on the other side. So we should have done that there, but that's fine. We can come back here. Okay, get yourself stacked so the head and tail are in line. Nice and long, so we're not just slumped here, nice and elongated, and then start to rotate. So I'm keeping this as light as possible, not trying to over-recruit any unnecessary muscles. 3. Rotating the heels on each other. 4. Keeping a sense of calm, stability through the pelvis. Starting to feel that a little bit more on this side. You might find that one side fatigues quicker. Breathing out as you lift. So you have a little bit more support. 2 more. So 10 of those, and then little pulses for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and return. Good, we're going to go on to your front. So working a little bit of your upper back. So you can have your little block underneath your head just so your nose doesn't get squashed. And have a good wiggle down the mat. So I really want your pelvis to be very comfortable. I always say to my clients, lift your legs a little bit up one at a time so that your pubic bone is more on the mat. When we're tight through the hip bones tend to point into the mat, but actually I want the pubic bone to be more into the mat. And also the ribs, just give them a little hug underneath you so you're really comfortable. And so the arms are going to be wide here in a W. And I want to just work the upper back from the base of the neck to the bottom of the shoulder blades. So I'm going to breathe in and just start to press the hands away and the legs lightly down the mat. Just to feed the chest bone out lightly towards the front of the room. Breathing with that, just checking in. Has the pelvis changed? Is the tail now up? Can I breathe here? Could the shoulder blades slide down a little bit more? The elbows melt into the mat a little bit more? The head to lift off the spine? The head to go away from the tail? I don't want to feel it here in the low back. So if you feel that there, come down a little bit. Try and think more about going out rather than hinging too far back. And then come back down. So have a little play with that. Pressing the hands very lightly forward as if they're gliding along the mat. And that helps to keep you going away from your tail. The big toes are softly reaching down from the middle of the legs. I want to gather my ribs to bring them up rather than letting them hang onto the floor. I want to gather them up and back down. So breathing in, use your exhalation to think about the pubic bone rising up a little bit as you come up. So it comes up through your torso. So the front of you is really supporting this movement. Back down. One more. You can again spend as much time as you need on this. If you're finding that your head is going back, again try and focus on that crown of the head going out and the chest going forward. And then we're going to take the arms by your side, either palms facing you or down to the mat, to the dart. So this, we sweep the arms off the floor. Again, like this plane taking off. And then coming into a little chest lift. Whatever breath feels okay for you. I tend to use an exhale so that it's a little bit more supported. Then you might not go high, it might be only here. That might be enough to really work that upper back. As the arms go higher, my natural tendency then is to naturally lift. So I want to go with that, not fight it. And that's a little bit too high for me. I can start to feel some tension, so I'm just going to come down, make sure I'm calm here. This is really working the shoulders to be more open. So it's a great stretch for there. If you're very tight, just bring the palms here and work there until you're more flexible enough to turn out the arms. So the fingertips are reaching to the toes are reaching away from the nose, the abdominal wall is gently supporting you, and back down. So this is the harder version with the palms facing down. Feel the top of the arm lifts, then the lower arm lifts, and then that chest comes up. And return. And then just come into a little shell stretch. Now we're going to do some roll-ups. So we're going to prepare just with the upper body. Anytime during this, if you feel like any of these exercises are uncomfortable for you, just skip through or do the versions that I'm saying are the modifications. If it's still uncomfortable for you, then just leave it and do the ones that feel okay. Okay? So we're going to rest back down here. And I want you to place your hands so they're pointing down on your chest here. Okay? This is going to help to fold us in that upper back so that we're trying to create a movement here in the upper back. And what would traditionally be our ab crunches in the fitness world, but we call them the chest lift or the ab prep. And it's really about trying to get some upper back mobility. So with the hands there, I want you to breathe in and guide the hands down into the chest bone. And as that becomes heavier, it carries the head, the weight of the head up. The eyes need to look down. The back of the head to feel long away from the tail. The pelvis is staying very neutral and quiet, so I'm not jamming the back in. And back down. So I want to breathe in the eyes down. Exhale, breastbone, upper back softly coming up. And back down. You could try it with the arms down, still leading from the breastbone sliding. The arms reaching might help to curl you up. If you feel tension in your neck, try this version with the hands interlaced. This is much better for me personally. So I've got support for my head. It's a little bit harder because the lever's longer. You can see I don't go up as high. I'm focusing on the head and the tail, really elongating away from one another. Okay, like this big arc going over my head, a stretch between the shoulder blades, the ribs curling. So the rib cage is curling itself and the side of the waist is sliding down. So we want to do in total about 8 of these, maybe 4 at the breastbone. If you do 10, that's fine. And then what I'd like you to do is come up and hold behind the legs. So we're in this little ball. And I want you to send the legs out into your hands and lift them softly up and see if it can roll you up into a little assisted roll up. And then on the way back, I want to push a little bit through the feet to roll the pelvis away from the lap, picking up the legs. You might just go to there, have a little balance, and then return back up to sitting, okay? If you can, and there's control there, I want you to breathe out and roll the tail through your legs to your pubic bone, and that should be enough to really smoothly roll you down. This is all very breathy, very calm. My arms are slightly bent. I don't want to lock out. Let the weight of the legs start to carry you up, scooping and hollowing very gently the front. And if you find yourself tensing and the stomach muscles are bulging, check with your breath. And then maybe have a little pause and just go, and see what happens. So see if you can exhale and soften a little bit more to bring you down. A little assisted roll up. So if you can get a flow, maybe you're working here just on going up part way. And breathing into that. You might come to a stopping point, that's fine, then come back down. So each time you do this practice, you get a little bit further. What I don't want you to do is strain to get yourself up just for the achievement of the exercise. Everybody's at their own level. Okay, really important you work within yourself, at your own level. Okay, and work on the chest lifts, the ones we've just done, to get a little bit better at that movement. And make that your last one. And we're going to go to your sides again. We're going to do a little side bend here. Now you can be on your hand or you can be on your elbow. We're going to just work the strength of the sides with the feet together. So I'm going to take this elbow option and hand at the hip. And I just want you to lift and arc your pelvis off the mat. So we're getting an activation here. We've got to watch that we're really open through the collarbone. So I'm not going up and down with my shoulder. I'm really pressing into the mat with the arm. And if this feels too strong on the head, I find that this really helps to support the hand being on the head and actually following the movement of the body. So you can also do it up here. And that's quite nice to get that nice arc over the arm into the side of the body. Let's go 3 more. Should be about 10. Sorry if you did 11. 2. And good. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. And if you're just getting some support here for your upper body, that's fine, even if you just do a little lift and feel that weight. It's really important your shoulder blade slides down. So a hand can be up or on your hip. I'm pushing the pelvis up off the mat. 2, 3, pushing the shin down, making sure you're level side to side. You can have a hand on the head. It allows you to arc over the arm. Now this is creating some tension on this shoulder, so I'm going to pop up to here, and that kind of frees some of the feeling. It makes my sides work just that little bit more. Good, I've lost my count now. So let's assume that's 9 and 10. Good, well done. And we're going to go on to our hands and knees. We've just got a few exercises. You're doing really well to get to this stage. So as we're weight bearing here, we want to get the hands right underneath the shoulders and the knees below the hips. If your feet can be flat, ideally that's great. Or you can put a little towel underneath your ankles so the feet are completely flat. Spread the fingertips and just lengthen your head and your tail away from one another. So we're not sagging in the middle. So the crown of the head forward, the tail back. And I just want you to weight bear through one arm. So you're feeling the right hand, and immediately my left hand feels light. My right leg feels light. So I'm just going to let them come off the floor and just keep focusing on this stability. The shoulder blades sliding down, your back, the head and the tail. And see if you can float out and in 5 times. 3. Keeping that stability, keeping that length. 4. Balance between the right arm and the left leg. And then come back. Now nothing really should have shifted. So if you kind of came back to the middle, you were probably leaning over to the one side. So as I regain the focus, get that stretch, you should feel a little bit of lift of the abdominal wall naturally, so we don't want to be hanging here. The tail is pointing backwards. Left hand into the mat. Left hand. As soon as I feel that crisscross support is already happening. Stretching out and in. Exhale out. 3. 4. I'm not going too high with the arms. I don't want to stress the shoulder, but I am trying to stretch that back leg back. And then come back and just have a little rest off the wrist. I'm going to do this slightly diagonally now. So I want you to go back to that right arm. And if your wrists are feeling a little bit sensitive here, you can always go up onto here. I'm not a huge fan of that. Or you can come down onto your elbows and just do this exercise with the leg movement. So you go in and out, and the side one that we're going to be doing in and out. But if you can, stay on your wrists. We're going to take the leg a little bit off to the side. So I've just got it off the edge of the mat. Now I'd like you to take the other arm out to the side. So my left arm is off to the side. So let me show you that from the front. So I've got that leg out there and here. And then I want you to lift them at the same time together for 5. Head and tail still reaching away from us. This is a little bit more challenging. I'm trying not to disrupt the clock. 4 and 5. And then come back. Same thing, left arm. And you can see there's no shift in the body. Okay, I don't want to be over here doing it. 5 of those. If you can do more, go for it. Challenge it. 3, really building some stability in the shoulder. 4 and 5. And then come back and rest. And that's great for the stability of the spine and through the joints. I'm going to finish with a swan dive, a back extension. I think this is a really important exercise for all of us to do. You can have your hands here or in that W we started with at the beginning, in that warm-up. Again, legs long away from you, elbows pointing back. We're going to breathe in and start to send the legs away, the hands sliding forward, coming through that upper back like we did before. And have a little wiggle. Breathe in again. And try and feel the flexibility of the front of you. So we're having some stretch through the abdominals to bring up. And if that feels a little bit too compressed, you can take it to that wider position for the hands. So I want to lift the abdominals up, lift the crown of the head, keep the legs reaching away, and then lower. Okay, now if you're pinching right into your back, it may be that the tail is starting to stick up. So send the tail down through your legs. Just doing this option. So I keep sending the tail away from the head. And this hand position was much better for me. Okay, but some people like the elbows right in by the side so they can get that nice stretch. So go where you can. Notice your breath. Okay, so if you go here and you're getting stuck, see what happens when you let the breath go and the legs reaching away and the spine staying long. Gather the ribs around so they're not poking out. And one more. And then I want you to finish in a side shell. So taking your body a little bit off center. And then over the other side. And then check in how you feel now versus the start. How your breath is. Is it nicely into your rib cage now? Does your body feel a little bit calmer, a little bit more flexible, a little bit more relaxed? So use this as your one time a week with your fitness challenge. You could do it more if you like. This can be a build up to working with some of the props that we have in some of the other videos. It's a good fundamental maintenance workout for everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.